Welcome to the Sports for Champions podcast. My name is Jordan and I'm going to be the host for today. So I'm joined by Laurence Whiteley, who is a mixed sculls, am I correct? Double mixed sculls.
I'm going to let you keep going.
Oh God, he's put me under pressure. Double mixed sculls, and he's a 2 times Paralympic gold medalist, both Rio 2016 and Tokyo 2020. I think I've got that bit right.
That was right.
Also World European Champion.
Yep.
And there's also Cancer Research Trust Ambassador.
Yep.
Boom! And you want me to look at this camera now? I swear he's just trying to put me into like some situation.
So
He's a director. He just sits there. Lets
job.
me do all the. Lets me stress out and get everything completely wrong.
Nah,
while he just points at a camera and
do it again.
fully puts me under pressure. But yeah, so I've also that's pretty much what I've got. I also have TAMIX2X. Does that mean a lot to you?
This is where it gets complicated.
Okay, yeah.
So 2018.
Right.
Oh, but there's a lot to unpick here. So
Bit of exposition first.
Yeah.
History. Let's go back in the books.
a little bit of backstory, back in time. So Rio Games, 2016. We raced over 1,000 meters.
Right. Okay. Long distance.
It got longer.
Yeah. Oh God.
We raced 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
And the event was called the Trunk and Arms Mixed Double Scull.
I have that written down. Trunk arms mixed double
So
sculls.
that's the TAMIX.
Right. Gotcha.
So back in the day, whopping 5 years ago, right? In para rowing, there were 3 classes.
I see.
So
Okay.
there was AS,
Right.
TA,
TA.
and LTA.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
arms and shoulders,
Arms.
trunk and arms,
Okay.
and then legs, trunk and arms.
Right. Gotcha.
So that's what the
they're
events
the
were
3
called. That's what.
distinctions.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was what it was for Rio. In 2017, 2018, they basically rewrote everything. So the AS, TA, LTA that we've known for years,
It's just gone.
they changed
Something
to
completely new.
PR1, PR2, and PR3.
So I've seen PR2 is your category. At
So
the
PR
moment.
is my colour.
Gotcha.
So PR1 is the new AS, PR2 is the new TA, PR3 is the new LTA.
What's the harder part, the training or just having to memorize all the different categories you're involved in?
So bad. Because then you get to a situation like this, it's like, we've seen you PR2, but also TA.
I was going to say
same thing, don't worry.
The fact that it was in 2018 as well doesn't give you a whole lot of time to prepare and just suddenly, what does that mean for you in terms of your sport? You know?
So thinking back to Rio, it's quite literally a different time. So we raced over 1,000 meters in the class TA.
Can I just mention
Tokyo,
it's
yeah.
rowing as well? Because I didn't
Para
specifically...
rowing.
Para-rowing. I didn't specifically say para-rowing at any point, just in case the viewers are...
I don't know if... but this is probably the broader conversation, right?
Of
We've got
course.
swimming, para-swimming, athletics, Is it the same?
At what point
same but
do you
different?
draw a distinction?
I don't
Would you
know.
rather have it all classed as, one thing?
But then you got the Olympics and the Paralympics, so it's a separate thing. I don't know.
Because at the end of the day, you're still putting in as many hours, you're working as hard.
Sport is sport, right?
It's competitive,
Yeah,
isn't it, at the end of the
sport
day?
is sport.
So do you separate that, or do you just bring it all together?
Para rowing, it's the...
The bread and butter is the fact that you're rowing.
I go
I
backwards in a bit of carbon on water.
Simple as
great,
that. Hopefully
yeah.
you don't sink at any point.
Yeah, I've capsized once in my
Once
in my career.
And during
I'm very
competition.
No, just a training.
Right. Okay. I was going to say if that's during competition, that's a whole different.
If I ever capsize in competition,
yeah. How did it feel?
if I ever do, I'm gone. I think I'm done. I'm done. There's no.
Don't say that.
Nah, hopefully it'll never happen.
I'm sure you recovered pretty well.
But Rio, 1,000 meters, trunk and arms, Tokyo. They 2018, 2017, I should know this. Sport underwent considerable changes.
Right.
So up until Rio, actually it was 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Memory
on the para side, we raised 1,000 meters for whatever reason. 2017, they quite drastic rule changes that I won't bore you with.
No, it's not boring at all.
But
me, I love to
So they literally doubled our race distance to 2,000 meters.
Right.
To bring us in line with our Olympic counterparts.
I see.
Which is a fantastic decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few reasons why they did that. One being, it opens up a lot more venues
Yeah.
and opportunities for us to race.
I was going to say, it gives you more training facilities, I suppose, like
Yep.
venues to compete
which is a big thing. It might not sound like a big deal, but you know, the whichever country or whichever venue we were at needed to have the facilities to have a 2,000 meter start bridge and a 1,000 meter start bridge.
Right.
Because let me tell you, there aren't very many places in the world that have the ability to have the two things like that.
It's very, not a niche sport, but it's very much kind of, you're reliant on kind of the environment.
For sure.
And you can't just do it anywhere, so having those opportunities means you don't have to travel as much to some degree, I'd imagine,
It just opens up more venues for us to compete, which is fantastic from a you know, para side.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We want more opportunities to race alongside our Olympic counterparts. Fantastic. The downside is we literally racing double the distance.
Right.
So 1,000 meters to 2,000 meters, which
it's a big step up, isn't it? It's kind of like asking, I suppose, a 100-meter sprinter to suddenly go to a 200-meter sprint, and it's like there's a lot of how do you suddenly reinvent yourself to.
So in Rio, the quickest time we did in the heat was 3 minutes 52.
Right. That's very quick.
Which is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
If I say so myself, that's pretty quick.
That's pretty good.
In Tokyo, I think we won in like 8 minutes 30 something.
So it's more than
So we've gone from a 3:52 to a 8 minute whatever. Now, granted, the conditions in Rio were very, very quick. The conditions in Tokyo were very, very slow.
Was that to do in part with the weather? Obviously,
weather.
It's much more humid because I lived in China for a couple of years, and humidity is ridiculous, isn't it?
We'll get onto that. I'll get onto that in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Tokyo was possibly the slowest conditions you could ever wish for. It was a massive headwind. I remember me and Lauren, when we boated for our final, looking at each other being like, we spent 5 years for the slowest conditions, and we're just like, this is.
Do you think that helped you to win? Do you feel like, because obviously the conditions were a lot slower, do you feel like because you trained a lot harder?
Possibly. I think one thing a massive headwind does do is I think it levels the competition.
Right. Yeah.
I think one thing a very strong tailwind does is, apart from the obvious of literally blowing you down the court, you know, it
will separate kind of who.
If you can technically, if you're better, you can make more use of that.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine a sailing boat. You've got full sails out.
I used to sail as a child, and I know
right?
the stresses. Yeah.
If your sail's only at half mast, you ain't gonna fully cap it.
Go flying. Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. Technically, the better you are, the more you can make use of the tailwind.
You are using that wind.
So you'll probably see greater distances between the crews as their technical ability is demonstrated more.
But when it's a headwind, on the other hand,
it just narrows the banding.
Yeah.
Because technically, yes, okay, it's still important, but then what's more important, I guess, is just how much can you throw at it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, how much you can actually put into it.
Because you can't.
It's more about the effort at that point than maybe about the technicality.
You can't make use of whatever technical advantage you've got that the tailwind would provide you.
Yeah.
So technically, it just narrows the banding.
So at what point in the race do you recognise that? I imagine almost immediately, you know.
Yeah, even before the race.
So that point, do you say it's more to do with like your determination and your heart to win? Do you feel like people, because obviously everyone is going to be technically gifted, everyone's, you know, I'd imagine have a decent level of muscle capacity and
so
strength.
This is the thing, right? I mean, you'd think that any final from any sport, right, whether it be rowing, power rowing, or, you know, our Olympic counterparts, getting to the 100 meters sprint, whatever, everybody starting, you know, everyone on that start line, you think will probably be of equal-ish.
Yeah, it's going to be within a split second.
Yeah, you're talking like the 1%, or even less than that, and that's the separation.
And generally speaking, you're always going to have a few front runners that you expect to like succeed.
But I think generally speaking, if you've made it to an Olympic or Paralympic final, generally
you're on the cutting edge of that sport.
Yeah, and everyone is roughly going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
By the nature of it's
like
Olympic
that?
or Paralympic
thrive
final.
In that kind of environment?
I mean, it's cool being on the start line and being like, okay, we're with like the sort of
How
six
does
or
it
seven
affect
best
you
crews in the
mentally,
world.
knowing that you're with the best people, or do you just purely like focus on your goals, on your kind of aspirations that you've set in advance?
So this is what I think was quite interesting. This is one of the challenges I think me and Lauren faced that we didn't have in Rio, right?
Yeah.
We went into the Rio Games as pretty much the nobodies, pretty much the underdogs.
So there's a lot
To give
less
you-
pressure and spotlight on you.
For
to
sure,
do
yeah.
well.
No one really knew who we were. No one really knew what we were about.
You showed
But to
them
give
that.
you, we did. But to give you some idea of the level of competition we had for Rio, right? So, the Australian crew won gold in the 2013 World Championships,
Right.
gold in 2014 World Championships,
Wow.
gold in the 2015 World Championships. So the previous 3 years, the Australian double had been like the people.
So if you judged it on kind of like statistical
like,
analysis,
past
most
three-
people would be betting on them to.
Past 3 years, they've won the previous 3 World Championships. You look at them and go, yeah, we know they're a good crew, right?
Yeah.
But then you go, okay, but for 2012, China won.
Right. So there was
So
an
you'd go-
outlier, which means.
So you'd go, okay, so you've got the current Paralympic world champions
Yeah.
from 2012 London, that were China. You've got the current world champions, Australia. From 2013, 14 and 15. The race we did before Rio, so there was a World Cup regatta a month or two before Rio that me and Lauren didn't race in. The French crew raced in that, I think beat Australia, but also posted a new world's best time.
God. So you've got all these external variables that you're conscious of.
Yeah, so you're there like, okay, we've got China, current Paralympic champions, Australia, reigning 3-time world champions, France, who has a month, 2 months ago posted a new world's best time.
So you're like the up and comers.
And then us, so you're like, that's a strong field. That's a strong
That's a lot
field.
of people and a lot of talent.
But I think because of that, yeah, slipped under the radar, no one knew who we were, and then
How would
Rio
you
was
say
Rio.
them winning, obviously, the gold this time around compared? Because I know I've seen like the Instagram post, you put a little snippet saying it's been a tough like 18 months.
yeah, so this is where Tokyo is really different for us. So yeah, I mean, there's no other way of saying it. We were going into Tokyo as current European, world, and Paralympic champions.
So, yeah, so you had all of those accolades under your belt.
So there's absolutely no shying away from. There's a target on our back.
Yeah, obviously, if we don't succeed in this, it's going to put pressure on us for the next games or for our other competitions.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Not that people wouldn't keep the faith in you because
no, but
people can have
I
down
think we
days.
very much saw it as that medal was for us to lose.
Yeah. So you, in your
Like,
back
you don't-
of
you-
mind, you felt like you could.
I think
win
you
this,
don't
yeah.
go into an event like you don't go into an event as current European, world, and Paralympic champions if you're
Nervous
you're
and
not a
hesitant.
marked crew at that point,
Yeah.
right? So it was two very different experiences. Like I say, Rio, we were the nobodies, we're the underdogs, and I think because of that,
And Tokyo, you're
it
the
helped
top
us.
dogs and
There was no hiding any of that, and there was no like no one knows who we are. It's like no, we're going
So
into it as European world, but like
would you say
people know who we are at this
would
point.
you say succeeding in Tokyo then was a little bit more special? No, it's hard to judge because they're both special in their own
Yeah,
right.
it's different. I mean, obviously, the past 2 years that.
Do you feel like you gained more recognition off the back of winning this time round? Do you feel like that's as kind of like not escalated, but kind of propelled your like career to some degree as well?
I think so.
Your status and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
obviously
with the the
on
modern
that
age of
front,
like
for
social
sure.
media as well,
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Back 2016, wasn't it? Like social media is still a big deal, but it's
No
like
one, no one at the extent it is now.
nowhere near the extent. Like you're seeing people on social media nowadays kind of make careers in a day in one viral kind of thing,
and that's it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. You're 100% right. Yeah, I think the Rio medal was the Tokyo medal. I think the results of that were really a demonstration of what we as a team, the rowing team, were able to achieve as far back as the first lockdown.
Yeah,
honestly.
Of course. So that was
I
a
think,
reflection of months and months back of preparation then, really.
And I can't speak for other sports. I can't speak for the teams, other individuals. But I think the results we saw, I think those results came from a year or so ago during the first lockdown, and where we were then, how we coped with that time, the training we did, the conversations we had.
So interesting.
Blah, 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 blah.
Because that's the thing a lot of people don't recognise, is that obviously they'll see you win on the day and they assume, yeah, you've been training hard for a few months in advance. But what they don't see is a couple of years back, you had those conversations with very important people amongst yourselves, like you and Lauren, and like those conversations have kind of led to you winning on that day. And
it's the difficulty of you know, essentially it's a date in the calendar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether you're ready or not,
you have to commit.
This moment is happening, right?
Yeah.
At some point, at this day, at this time, this event will happen.
Yeah. There's no shying away. There's no hiding.
Yeah, whether you like it or not.
Whether you're prepared or not, you're going to have to do it, and people will scrutinise on the basis of what you achieve or not.
So I think the Tokyo medal really was a testament and a statement of how well we as a team, as a support network, as everything like that. And that's what we were doing a year ago during the first lockdown. I think that's really a testament of what we were doing then worked.
Yeah.
And it was difficult at that time to think, is this the right call?
I'm assuming you have like several like you say with the support network, your coaches, kind of people externally that you talk to.
Yeah.
Like, how much of an impact do they have on like the infrastructure and what you're capable of achieving, just the two of you, like on that day? Because
I find this quite difficult because on one hand, I think having individuals outside of what I do for a living, important, right? Because they don't know it. You can rant away and it'll be fine. But on the other hand, you kind of want to talk to people that are going through it as well.
Yeah, of course.
And personally, they know the system, they know what it's like.
They're involved in that ecosystem.
They're involved in it, they know they get it, right? They get it.
I suppose a lot of the people on the outside, they think they understand, but until you actually experience what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, for sure. And I think that was one of the hardest.
To empathise and put
I think that was one of the hardest things to get right during that point in time of finding the right balance between, talking to other athletes, talking to other rowers, because they get it, they're living it as well.
Living,
right?
breathing, training.
But equally, they're probably just as sick as talking about it as I am. That's a nice balance. So then you want to talk to your friends and family.
Yeah.
But they know what you do, but they don't.
Yeah, they take a vested interest, but it's not like on a deeper level.
Exactly. And I think that was a hard. I think it's always a hard thing to.
Yeah, no, it's a hard balance, isn't it? Because just from my own experiences of doing because I very much enjoy sport as well, but nothing competitive. But I do half marathons and stuff, and I train for months, and I'd eat specific foods.
Oh yeah, sure. But I've never done a half marathon.
Would you like to?
No. That is not my
not your cup of tea.
That is not my idea of a good time.
I did 2 when I was very young, and I was yeah, I don't know if I'd want to keep pursuing this.
It's not honestly. That's not my idea of a good time. But it's the same thing. I can. My family have done half marathons.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be your guy to talk to you about the struggles of a half marathon. I get it. I've watched it on television. I've spoken to people who have done it, but I don't know.
But that equates exactly to what you're saying about external people. They might be observational and they might kind of have a general understanding.
They can help, right?
And it's nice to have that sometimes, because I'm sure when you're ingrained in a sport and you've got people that are just very serious all the time, sometimes it's nice to have people on the outside that kind of can add humour and a bit of lighthearted.
So to bring you into the kind of a point in time before we competed, so one of the requirements we had to do in order to even just step on the flight to Japan, was we had to basically isolate in a hotel for a month.
That's a long.
It wasn't quite a month.
Yeah,
it's about 23.
But I'd imagine it feels like several months.
Long enough.
Isolated.
Long enough.
Yeah,
it's about 3.5, about 23, 24 days. Just over 3.5 ish.
3 to 3.5 weeks though. Isolation is.
We'll call it a month because it sounds better.
Yeah.
About a quarter of a month, and all we could do was go from our hotel room to our training center.
Yeah.
Back to our hotel room.
So it becomes a repetitive loop.
That was it.
Yeah.
Every single day. I'm starting to go a little bit mad.
I was going to say, you
Not
do get a
gonna
little
lie.
bit stir crazy.
Starting to go a little bit stir crazy.
Yeah.
But just what we've been talking about, that you then fall into the problem of friends and family not quite getting it.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to talk to the other athletes because you're so sick of it by that point.
You've
and
spent
then you're in
the
that
first few days talking about that, and then you've got another 2-3 weeks of talking.
Exactly. We've been doing this for 2 weeks. We've got 2 more weeks of it.
Mentally, what kind of tolls would you say, like, just the pandemic and just being locked in, and how has that affected, like, your training and, like, obviously your relationship, kind of like Lauren obviously being able to, like, communicate and meet up with your coaches? And
again, weird. Obviously, everyone in the world everything was virtual.
Yeah, of course.
To the point of we were very good.
So your microphone, your cameras, all of that came in pretty handy.
This was the setup, man.
Yeah,
this is the setup.
yeah.
Well, you joke, but we were generally doing like on the rowing machines on the ergos, with like our laptops just on a stand.
I've always been curious.
Everyone like a big Zoom call, so you can see just other
Really?
people erging. Yeah, which was quite cool.
Oh, that's nice.
But again, you have
integrated.
like 3 months of doing that, and it's like, I'm so bored of this.
Can I ask how, like, because obviously, technically, how different is a rowing machine? Obviously, because obviously the conditions are never going to be the same, are they?
Yeah. So the only way I can kind of describe it is it gets you in the majority of the way there, basically. But it's like running on a treadmill to running on the pavement.
Yeah, it's not completely different.
It's not completely different, and
the impact is different.
It kind of hits the beats.
Yeah.
But it's not. You can tell it's different.
Obviously, like,
right?
And as well, when it's in like an artificial like gradient, or when you're adding kind of artificial weight, it's not quite the same feeling as if you were actually having to forcibly.
It gets you as a piece of equipment to aerobically get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
It's good, but you're never going to learn to row a boat by just going on the rowing. By just going on the rowing machine.
I mean, just all kinds of like things like fear would come in, like anxiety, kind of obviously getting into the boat in the first place. Like if you never did that, then
spending your whole life on a rowing machine is not going to.
It's just not going to. Yeah, you can't. It's not transferable in that way.
But I mean, it does kind of teach you the
basic kind of principles.
It gets you the basics, right? You do. Like you quite literally go through the motions.
And then I'm assuming it becomes more of like a training tool, kind of in the same way that obviously you go to the gym to lift weights, I'm assuming as well.
Yep.
So that like to strengthen yourself. And
yep.
in terms of the gym, kind of what do you focus on most? What kind of like, do you focus on all muscle groups like core? Because obviously you're using like, you know, like your hips, your core quite a lot, I'd imagine. More than just the upper body that people assume.
So touch on training briefly. So typically we do 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So we train 6 times a week, anywhere between 2 to 3 sessions a day.
Right. Okay.
And any of those sessions, a combination of on the water, on land, on the rowing machine, weights, or cross training.
So do you kind of like segments, obviously with regards to like your weight training? I'm assuming you don't do weightlifting 6 days a week, or do you split it up between?
No, so like I say, 2 to 3 sessions a day, any combination of those.
I was going to say the DOMs would be horrendous, wouldn't it? Otherwise,
I was a pretty bad DOMs over the years.
Do you do like hypertrophy training, kind of like light weights and just repetition?
No,
or do you do like heavy or combination for strength and
a bit of both. The easiest way of putting it is weights. The reason why we do S&C or weight training is to stop the sport from breaking you.
Yeah, right. So it's
basically
kind of just a break in between.
You need to be strong enough to tolerate the load of a rowing boat.
Yeah.
Right. Because rowing, how you shift a rowing boat is you
incredible.
You load. In my case, you load the handles.
Yeah.
And then you basically suspend your body weight and kind of fall back. Right.
Right. Okay. So you're shifting your weight backwards to.
So you basically need to be strong enough that your body can survive doing that for either the duration of the race or whatever the training. The weight is to stop the sport from breaking you. Right. That's kind of his primary job, and then sure, if you can build some additional strength to aid boat speed, then great.
Yeah.
So be it. But if you try to to do the amount of rowing we do and no strength training,
you just crumble.
Your body would just crumble.
You just melt away. You're like, I can't do this anymore.
Pretty much, and you know, unfortunately, you do see it happen. So weights is a very important aspect of what we do, but mostly
it's not just mental reset.
Stop the sport from breaking you.
What impact do seasonal changes have on your ability to row? And specifically, we could tie this in with obviously Tokyo and the climate.
Yeah.
So how much of an impact does like winter have compared to rowing in the summer? And...
So unfortunately, rowing is an all-weather sport.
Yeah. Would you like it to be that case, or would you like it to permanently be summer?
That's a tough one, because I have rowed in like snow and hail.
What?
And
hail must be rough.
Hail's not fun
because if you're leaning back as well, you get the full brunt.
Hail's not fun. Snow is quite cool.
Yeah,
snow is quite cool. But no,
that must
rowing,
be quite nice, although distracting. I'm sure
it's cool when it's just it's
snowing suddenly,
and then the novelty of that wears off, and it's like, what am I doing? It's snowing.
Why am I out in these conditions?
What are we here? I mean, the only time we don't row or don't go out is wind.
Really? Yeah, I can imagine wind. Like.
So if the wind is if it's too windy, and the water just becomes unsafe, unproductive,
you're more likely to capsize, and it's just not.
It's just a risk. It's just a risk. It's just not.
When you could just wait for another day, and
you could just go inside.
Yeah, you could go inside, go on the rowing machine,
do something
your weight.
Else. Yeah. Do something else.
So you have things, that you can fall back on if needs to be.
100%. So sometimes we technically don't go out, and that it does happen. More, there's a point. Not last winter, the winter before when COVID wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Winter 2019. Winter of 2019.
Just on the cusp of it becoming a thing.
On a thing, yeah. And we did about probably 3 weeks or so where we just couldn't go out.
Yeah.
It was programmed to go out, planned to go on the water. You rock up the training, whatever time we get to training, look at the water and go, it's just the north.
Do you enjoy being out on the water? Like, obviously there must be an element of loving your sport, but has it ever reached a point where it becomes like a chore or something that you kind of...
Yeah.
But
not gonna pretend otherwise.
If that's your career, though, it's natural. Any line of work.
Any job's gonna have that. I mean, you have good days and bad days, like any job. Don't get me wrong. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world doing what I do.
Yeah. Always a massive upside to like get that culture and that perspective.
For sure. And we've been on some beautiful parts. On some beautiful rivers.
Yeah.
And typically, where we go is very picturesque.
Yeah, it's always going to be scenic to some degree. Yeah,
given the nature of finding a lake and surrounded by beautiful mountains, and you go,
wow,
I'm
lucky to do what I do.
This isn't bad, is it?
Those moments make it all worth it.
Exactly. But the flip side is, it can be lashing down with rain.
Yeah.
The wind can be... It can be borderline as to whether or not we go out or not, right? Like it's maybe 20-25 mile an hour wind, which is pretty windy.
Yeah.
Stick your hand out the window doing 25 miles an hour, and
it's gonna.
you'll feel it. Imagine trying to rowing into that.
Do you ever feel like the Hulk when you're in those wind conditions?
Sadly not. I wish I did. And when you got a condition like that, where it was like, if this was just a little bit worse, we wouldn't be out.
We wouldn't have made it out.
But it's just on the cusp of it just being rowable. And you're there just like, I got to battle this for like an hour.
How much of that point...
a little bit worse, we wouldn't be doing this.
How much of that point is it kind of like your mental toughness kick in? And obviously the training kind of having overcome adversity in the past, you then think, right. And then when you're out, I'm sure there are times where you go out and you're actually like, oh, it's not as bad as I expected, but you get through it, right?
It's like anything, right? It's like once you're out there,
you have to do it.
It's kind of fine.
Yeah.
It's the thought of
the
getting
idea,
out there that's just like, oh, this sucks.
And do you ever get like competitive anxiety? Do you ever get nervous and like?
Oh God, yeah, I get nervous all the time.
I was gonna say, do you know what though? A lot of people sometimes see that as a weakness, and
God, no.
in any like thing I've ever done, I always get extremely nervous.
I think,
but I end up doing better for that reason because it makes me more passionate.
Yeah, I think if any athlete tells you, "Oh, don't get nervous," I'm just like, "You're lying." Everybody gets nervous. Like it's just a human thing to get like.
I can see that there are different degrees,
nervous.
For sure.
Oh, for
Some
sure.
people are like, you see
sure.
people that just like seem very calm and laid back in their demeanor, whereas other people like myself, I kind of like would go inward and just kind of think.
That's the thing. Like me and Lauren have that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of one of my jobs in the boat. Like Lauren's a little excitable puppy.
Yeah. So the dynamic, there's
right. Yeah, like
good dynamic there. Then
I get nervous. She does get nervous, but. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
One of my jobs is how do you kind of... Because I'm a lot more relaxed. I'm not, but I'm the whole, like, you know...
You'll hold it together.
Geese on top of the water.
Yeah.
Right? The surface is just... It's cool, man. Just don't worry about it.
You kind of keep your composure.
Feet are doing this, man.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm a lot more laid back, a lot more chill. I do get nervous, but I think I'm quite good at just...
controlling that to a degree and just kind of
all right, no worries,
not letting it be evident.
Yeah, I don't think Lauren is
quite,
and it's not a criticism, not a negative.
It's never a criticism,
but it's how you channel it in the right way, right? And with her, if you can channel that, my God,
clearly,
that girl is absolutely on. Like that girl is, goddamn.
Clearly, she can channel it, like because the amount of success we both had.
Can she ever, man? Can she ever? And that's, especially when it gets to racing, like that's one of the jobs that I've always kind of done is just how you chat, how you communicate in a way that's like,
so this ties in really well, kind of, how synchronized are you like during the race? Kind of, because obviously there are a lot of sports where you might be in a team with people, but you don't necessarily have to communicate so much. Do you communicate a lot? Is it something that's just ingrained at this point?
So if we're just training... In the double, there's no pressure. Yeah, you can get words out. You can get conversations out.
Yeah.
It's somewhat akin to if you're going for a jog, going for a run. Like, yeah, you can talk, but you're probably not doing it for the whole the whole time you're going running.
Yeah.
When you're racing, it's more just grunts or words.
Yeah. So it's just very short, explicit.
Very short, very sharp, but we both know what it means.
Yeah, those words.
That's the thing with rowing, right? It's doing the exact same thing at the exact same time together, and it's similar to driving.
Yeah,
it's you can
get a feel for it over time.
Literally quite get a feel, and that's a very difficult thing to try and describe or explain or put across.
I've always found that hard.
But it's the same. But it is the same thing, and we've been training so long, rowing so long together. Like we just, when it's bang on the money. You just know it. And especially in racing, it's half the time we don't need to say anything because we're probably both thinking the exact same thing of what the boat needs, how the boat is responding.
And that's just
where
something
we are in the race. That's just something
practice, and over time you've learned the way you each.
Just experience. It's a skill in its own right, sure. But
massive.
You spend enough time doing something, it just
becomes. It's like when you first learn to ride a bike, or at least in my experience. I can't really remember how I learned to ride that bike. I can't remember how many times. Like I just remember falling off quite a lot, and then suddenly one day you're just cycling and you're like. When did that happen?
How did this? Yeah,
I'd imagine it's a similar deal with kind of building that kind of relationship.
So we do, and it's a similar thing with, like I said, we definitely both get nervous, but especially those kind of World Championship finals, European finals, Paralympic finals. How we communicate, how just the vibe and the tone of the feel of the boat. I think is something that I see that as my role.
Yeah.
Whether it is or not, I have to ask her. But
I've kind of. What's the role of a coxswain? Because you've got the coxswain, and I obviously don't fully understand it, but I'd love to.
So typically for the bigger boats, for the fours and the eights, two main roles: polysteering,
right?
Polysteering because again, you've got either 4 or 8 individuals. They're big, fast, heavy boats.
Yeah.
You kind of do need someone to just, especially an 8 is, I don't know the length of an 8,
but I'd imagine much longer than this room.
Probably twice the length of this room.
Twice the air. So you need somebody kind of at the helm to just...
with a rudder that can just steer on a dime.
Right, yeah.
So that's one of the rules. One of the roles, sorry. Second thing is, it's just coordination.
It's a scull, skull, isn't it, that you row in?
Skull have two.
Yeah, so in the
Sculling
skull...
2 blades, sweep has 1 blade.
You won't have a rotor or anything.
No, so get into some rowing chat.
It's very technical. Yeah, please enlighten me.
I love some rowing chat.
No, it's good.
So multiple different boat classes, I guess. So no points are awarded for guessing what these are. So there's a single.
Yeah.
1 person. I told you, no points are awarded here. You got a double and a pair.
Oh, I was about to say it. You got there first.
Double and a pair. Also, no points awarded for how many people are in a double or a pair.
After that.
So I'm in a double.
Yeah.
So double sculling.
Yeah.
Blade in each hand.
So that'll be what. It's 2 separate ones, not like ones. One long, not like a.
So that's sweep.
Mace Windu.
Yeah. Pair have with sweep, so they'll have a blade each.
Right. Yeah.
And there's basically just multiples of that. So you've got a
Gotcha.
4 and a quad.
Yeah.
So a quad is sculling.
Right. Yeah. I'm
so
following it.
Double is literally double of a double. So
yeah,
quad,
okay,
they have two blades each.
Yeah, you'll have 2 each. Yeah.
And a 4 has 1 each.
Okay, I was going to say it's not 4 each, is it?
And then there's an 8, which is sweep again, which is 1.
Yeah.
And there is an equivalent sculling. I think it's like an octuplet or something.
Out of interest,
but they don't really.
How did you get into it in the first place? Is it something you've grown up with family doing?
No, absolutely not. I picked up rowing
because it's very technical. It's a very technical sport that I'd imagine you probably had to do a fair bit of research into first, just to get a general idea.
It's more technical than it looks.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair way of putting it. People that row.
It's not so technical.
It's like if you know kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is technical. It can be very technical at my level. Yes, absolutely. And this isn't strictly true, but it can get more technical. Trying to get 8 people all doing the same thing at the same time versus 1 person.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the 8 is more technical than the single, but they each come with their own unique challenges,
benefits,
and
pros,
unique
cons. Yeah.
Probably the technique of an 8 is going to be vastly different from the technique of someone in a pair or a single, right?
Of course.
But how I got into it? No, I picked up rowing relatively late.
Right.
If there is such a thing as picking up a sport relatively late.
Yeah.
As in, I didn't do it at school, didn't do it at college, didn't do it at university. None of that.
So it was after university and.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
I was a swimmer initially.
Yeah. I was gonna say you've got a swimmer's physique. You've got that kind of wide shoulders,
big triangle body. Yeah.
You're a big triangle.
Yeah.
Human Dorito.
Human Dorito. Yes, swam. I kind of swam all my life, really.
I suppose it kind of ties in with rowing because if you do.
Honestly, water sports.
Just anything water related
sports
kind of fascinated
all been my bag. Yeah. Anyway, started swimming. Kind of got involved in the para swimming, disability swimming.
Yeah.
Kind of went through their system, classified, yada yada yada. But long story short, kind of got a bit disheartened with the whole para swimming. I was kind of right on the cusp, right on the border of the talent ID.
Yeah, and the kind of
times they were asking,
and the perceptions changing, and kind of the weight stuff, that they put, because now the Paralympics, I think this time round in Tokyo is huge. For me, I watched far more of the Paralympics than I did the Olympics.
You know what? Pretty much everyone I've spoken to from Rio and Tokyo basically said the same thing.
Yeah, the discrepancy.
I don't know why that is.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
it's great. I mean, I love it. It's fantastic.
I just feel like the coverage was fantastic.
Channel 4 did a great job with the coverage.
Channel 4 been brilliant, and I follow them on Instagram as well.
Most people I've spoken to have gone, I watched the Olympics, really enjoyed the Olympics.
Yeah.
But the Paralympics. Oh my god,
it was brilliant. Like I just feel like there was so much
I've heard
drama.
that. I get that a lot.
There was something special about the coverage. I just thought it was brilliant, and like I said, because I follow the Instagram, I just feel like a lot of their posts were just very clued up and like time relevant. They kind of made you want to take part. Like brilliant. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Swimming right on the cusp of their like talent ID kind of times. As an example, if you need to do 100 free in 60 seconds, I was like 60.1. I was like there.
Yeah.
Probably could have done with a bit more of a bit more input on their end. Problem is, they've got a dozen or so other people that are also there or thereabouts.
You didn't get that one-to-one
and they just don't have the time or the people to like.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is narrowing. So it's like basically like we'll see you. This is like 15 years ago as well, so
and
it might have changed by then.
Like guide you, to give you kind of that intuition, intuition to go forward.
For sure. I think it needed that bit of input. It needed them to probably look at my training and go, we can tweak things to get you to, because you're right on the cusp. Yeah. And it's just they just didn't really seem that interested. So got quite disheartened with it, which is understandable.
Helped you, because otherwise you may never have gone down this route. So you who knows what could happen.
So this is where the silver lining and all that kind of comes in.
Yeah.
Was at the gym one day, and my dad, he was taking a spinning class. He would go spinning class. I'd just go lift some
classes.
So he would do that. I'd go, shift some iron in the gym.
Yeah. So you've always grown up going to the gym. It's been something that you incorporate into your routine naturally.
Yeah. I mean, this is when I was like, like 16, 17.
Yeah,
so
same. That's
thinking I'm the big, strong guy you were at 16
from when
years
you're
old.
like 14, you go once a week and you're like, after the gym session.
Yeah, you watch Pumping Iron once and think you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, it's a great film.
Brilliant film.
Yeah, no, my dad got talking to a woman at the gym who rode for Durham University.
Right, yeah.
And basically got doing a bit of swimming, blah, blah, blah.
Big clubs in Durham as well,
it's fantastic. Basically kind of told them the story. And she was like, oh, why don't you
come along, yeah.
Give rowing a try.
I mean, obviously you had the physique from going to the gym anyway, so it kind of tied in with some of your aspirations.
So it's basically just like, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Give that a try.
Did you just immediately really enjoy it? Was it something you just fell in love with?
Not particularly.
No,
not particularly. Because it took me a long time, I think, to get over the how you see yourself. I was a swimmer.
Yeah.
I did swimming. I'm not a rower.
Yeah.
And it took a while, I think, to
completely different kind of dynamics.
To get over that. I'm a swimmer. I swim. I don't row.
Have you always been quite a sociable person, or were you kind of a little bit introverted going there as well? Was it something?
I think a little bit, but I just don't think I wanted to. I swam all my life.
Yeah.
So I think it was quite hard to
just switch that off.
Reinvent
myself with something that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy, or it's
complete change of sport, complete change of all of that.
Yeah.
So I think when I kind of got over that, it was, and then I think what I was going to say the final nail in the coffin. That sounds pretty grim, but what I mean is, British rowing, I think, gave me the input that I think I needed when I was swimming.
You needed somebody
because then because I remember rocking up to the first set of like open trials of British rowing. Again, was right on that talent ID kind of cut off point that they were that they were asking for, and then straight away, chap there, a guy called Tom Dyson, who's coached me to same guy that coached me
still coaches you now.
Still coached to Tokyo one. Yeah, straight here was like, okay, let's see what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at what you're doing each week. Look at the training. Look, so I was rowing up at Tees rowing club at the time. It's okay, what are you doing there? Blah blah blah. And straight away, some interest, right? Some involvement. And he was like, okay. Basically wrote me a program. He was like, cool. Do this for 2-3 months, and we'll see how it goes.
Like you review it afterwards.
Yeah, and we'll touch base again in a few months, and then
how important is it to have, like, obviously to listen, to kind of take instruction, and then to kind of after those 3 months have that kind of like feedback, that analysis review?
Again, like I think that was kind of input that I think
new structure that you've not had before, something that you're like,
having
I can
that
tangibly see where I'm going with it.
And this is the flip side. Like I said, that involvement interest, I think, is what I needed from swimming at the time.
Yeah.
And if I got on that,
who knows? Yeah.
I may have continued down the path of swimming.
But it's hard.
Whether or not that would have led me to 2 Paralympic golds or not, I don't know.
Hindsight is always.
Yeah, but they didn't do that, and rowing did.
So
it's like, okay,
there we go.
Straight away, they were invested in me. They were, they wanted to. Again, they gave me the time, right? Yeah. They put in the time to have those conversations with me.
You put in that time.
Exactly. So and that's how it works. And then kind of got more and more involved from there. Did some more trialing, and then fortunately enough for me, and this is where a little bit of luck on my side, I suppose.
But by you this point, your own fortune, right? Because the thing
I think from this point onwards, you do.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the right place, right time.
Yeah, of course.
By this point, it was the 2012 London Games.
But you put yourself in that place in the first instance.
Yeah, I guess so.
Did you participate in the 2012?
I trialled for it.
Right.
And got beaten by the guy who eventually went to the games.
Right, I see. So it's a good learning curve. Like, if you could model off anyone, it would be that guy that beat you. Because
then he went on to compete in the mixed doubles for London.
Yeah.
And then kind of right place, right time. Pretty much all of the squad after London retired.
So that was your kind of onus to step up and kind of take that reign. And
so they needed athletes. I'd kind of been on their development team for about a year or so.
Watch list and
they needed athletes. I was there. I got a call basically being like, do you want
to give this a go?
Basically, yeah.
And of course you're not going to pass up on that opportunity.
Yep. So and that was kind of February 2013. And kind of been
you've been going since.
Been doing this ever since then. Basically,
what are your aspirations, obviously, going forward? Because obviously,
so this is
once you've reached not only one gold medal, but you've kind of cemented it and done it again.
Yeah,
and that's always a big deal for sports people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's proof of concept, isn't it? It's proof that you're not just a one-hit wonder. Not that you would.
But I think there's. I think it's really interesting. I think there's a couple of things here. One of the things going into Tokyo was kind of what you're just saying about the one-hit wonder thing. It's like, was Rio just a fluke?
Yeah.
And I don't think you win any Olympic, Paralympic World. Yeah. You don't win any medal like that by it being a fluke.
Maybe you get like positive circumstances. Maybe that the heat before you had an easier heat or something. But even still,
but I don't think you win it by just being a fluke.
No chance.
But you're right. You come to a second token, and it's just like, but was it?
Was it?
So I think that whole conversation is quite interesting. But this is kind of where I find myself at the moment. Like I plan on staying to do Paris.
Yeah.
But this is the conversation, right? It's like, now what?
What do I want to do
now
after
what?
That? Yeah.
And I am very aware of how this sounds. Very aware of how this sounds. But me and Lauren are kind of in the position. Okay, I'm not going to speak for Lauren. I find myself in the position now where it's like, we're European, World, Paralympic champions. As daft as it sounds, and I'm very aware of how it sounds, like, we've kind of nothing left for us to do in the sport.
Yeah. So do you leave on a high, or do you just go down the route of continue to win?
So this is the thing. So this is one of the things my coach said to me after Tokyo. He was like, you need to find a reason to want to do it again.
And do you have a reason at this point? Or is it so fresh off winning that you're just trying to
maybe reassess? A little bit. I think so. I think there's still things within the sport we want to achieve.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the world record.
Right.
The Dutch crew. Very good crew. So
that's something you could aspire to.
I think at the moment, my event, the PR2 event, I think is undergoing some changes at the moment.
Right. So it could end up in your favour as well.
So the sport is still every year
growing, changing.
Every year it's just getting faster and faster and faster, and we still want to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
a good a reason as any.
It's routine as well. Like,
but I think it is a very important question to ask of what's keeping you here? Why come back again? You've done everything. Like me and Lauren are the first people. I think we're the first people. I'm happy to be corrected, but I think we're the first people.
It probably won't be me correcting you. So
I think we're the first people to ever hold the European, world, and Paralympic title within the same at the same time.
Yeah.
So you look at that and go, we've kind of done it all.
Yeah. Can we? So just
why
keep
do it
maintaining?
again? Because you've done it. We did it once in Rio. We've done it again in Tokyo with the world. It's like there's nothing keeping you in the sport. And that's one of the things that our coaches actually pushed us quite hard on. Which at the time you were just like, what are you doing? Do you not want us to come back? But then you step away from it and go, actually, he's got a point.
That's an interesting thing
he's got
as an
a point.
athlete, though.
Because you have to want to come. Like
you have to find a reason.
You just coming back for the sake of it isn't a reason to come back.
Yeah. You need
because you'll
something
burn out.
more
You just won't care. You'll burn out so quickly.
Stimulating and like
100%.
deeper connection. Because you see that with a lot of athletes. Like I look at obviously like Tyson Fury with boxing, and obviously he goes through a lot of his mental health issues.
Yeah.
And he keeps winning, and like every time he wins, he says that for months and months afterwards, he just feels the lowest he's ever been.
Yeah.
When
sure.
realistically, you've just won. You've just won a gold at Tokyo. Which how many other people can say that? But even now you have these thoughts of, is this something I want to continue doing? Is it something that I've achieved everything I can? But then if you do drop out of it, you're like, what do I do that's going to satisfy me any more than that? And that's the thing, as humans, we're always looking for that next thing, aren't we? And it's hard to like be complacent and settle for something, which I think some people can. Like my brother's like always just been very content with what he does. And he loves it, and that's like he loves that. Whereas I've been the opposite. I've always been kind of like itching and like stir crazy to like achieve more and do more. Yeah. Kind of fascinating though. Very fascinating.
Finding another reason, I think, is something I'm still trying to find. I got a few reasons I want to come back, but the reasons aren't because I want to win them, because I win them, because we've done that. Right?
Maybe it's a little bit rather than kind of face value and like just medals and accomplishments. Maybe you look for something like the world record, or maybe
like that.
To push yourself to see how you can keep going and building.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, it was the slowest possible conditions for Tokyo, which is such a shame, because the times we were doing at training, or the times we were demonstrating were, if we had the conditions for Tokyo,
maybe that would have been
would have been. Oh, man, that would have been good.
Yeah,
would have been
maybe that's a reason.
Seriously quick.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, because the conditions were so bad. It held you back from maybe achieving more than just the medal.
Yeah,
I see. So it's
one of the things me and Lauren both said to each other before Tokyo was like, we knew we were in a good place, right? We knew the boat was going well. But just getting the gold this time wasn't going to be good enough for me and Lauren. Yeah. Now, I don't mean that in a negative way. Winning second Paralympic gold is huge.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
But we knew we had a lot of speed in the boat that if we had the conditions,
you could have achieved.
It would have put us like
propelled
right up here.
And sometimes like it's nice to
and we couldn't demonstrate that because the conditions just weren't in our favour. So it almost feels a little bit unfinished.
It feels like you've been robbed of what you could have succeeded and achieved.
Because what we were doing in...
I love that unfinished. It's like a trilogy.
Yeah, a little bit, right? A little bit. So that's one of the reasons to come back.
There's your mission. It's a trilogy.
Yeah, well, that is generally one of the reasons to come back. Because again, what we were doing in training was so fast. And we couldn't show that.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to show it when it matters, which is a Paralympic final.
So the next time is not going to be about what you can achieve in terms of the medal, but it's going to be about the performance.
And this is the difficulty.
But again, that's dependent on the conditions. What if the next time happens again, it's just going to frustrate you.
This is the problem with rowing being a all-weather sport and weather dependent. Because again, the next time around in Paris, you could get a massive headwind again, and it's like for context, we were about like 40, 50 seconds slower than we were expecting.
Right, yeah. Which is substantial when, 50 seconds of a massive drop of what you could have achieved.
Yep. So
sure.
again, it feels a bit unfinished because it's not a shame by any means because we did what we had to do, right, which is win. But if we had the conditions, oh man, it would have been
it would have been like the icing on top of the cake.
Very quick, and it wasn't. So
I feel like I've upset you now.
There we go. No.
You'll do it, man.
It's just a bit again, but this is the you spend 5 years
training for something for
and
it
the
not
conditions
to...
were so bad that it's just like, oh, we spent 5 years for that. Like, oh, Mother Nature, please
now you've got
play
your next
ball.
5 years there. Play some card. Play some.
3 years, isn't it?
My question to you is obviously now that you're obviously becoming an ambassador of Sports for Champions, what are like your aspirations to give back to the children and to like inspire them to go on to become not necessarily a rower, but obviously a sports person or within any discipline that they partake in? How do you want to encourage them to kind of like chase their goals and to like set realistic, measurable goals? Yeah,
for sure. So I like this into some of the work I do for the Bone Cancer Research Trust. I'm still in my own experience of bone cancer, osteosarcoma. When I was diagnosed,
I wasn't sure how comfortable you'd be obviously talking about it. But by all means, we'd love to. I think a lot of people would see value and inspiration.
Yeah, so it's a similar sort of thing. So when I was diagnosed 15 or so years ago now.
And what was the diagnosis? Was it obviously cancer?
So osteosarcoma bone cancer. When I was 13, 14.
Very pivotal period of like growing up. 13 as well.
There's a lot going on when you're that age.
Very it's not even that it's so early to find. Like 13 is like that's a hard time to find out. Obviously that you've got cancer because your brain is developing quite fast at that age, isn't it? So like you already have all these pressures of school and kind of
GCSEs at that point in time, like all the school pressures and stuff.
How did you deal with it? Were you very kind of like reserved about it, or were you very open?
I think ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I think being 13 and not really understanding the full severity and extent of what I'm being told. Did you kind of just go
about your days and just not joke it off?
Yeah, I mean, you're 13, right? You don't know what...
You don't know the implications of
what's going on.
Cancer. Yeah, you don't realise how...
Which I think at the time was a bit of a blessing in disguise. Being someone ignorant to the what's happening to me. You know you're unwell. You know something's going on clearly, but you're 13. You don't know. Like, so I think that played quite a big role in the the broader conversation of getting through it.
Yeah,
because you don't really understand, right?
Did you obviously physically how did that affect you? Both obviously because you talk about the mental and like ignorance is bliss, and that you kind of maybe sheltered yourself from that or just didn't understand it because you were young anyway.
Fully understand it, yeah.
How did it affect not only in terms of being unwell? Did you feel physically very unwell from it? And how did your family cope with that? Because I'd imagine them being obviously older and wiser, they understand a lot more of the implications.
Yeah. So obviously my parents fully understood what was going on, right?
Did you talk about that a lot, or did they kind of just not want to?
I don't think at the time.
Yeah,
I don't think at the time because there's not really much to.
Do you talk about it now? Maybe not now, but
we have done for sure.
Yeah,
but it's also kind of one of those things that was it happened.
Yeah, of course.
Not really much to.
No, I think that's a really good attitude to have towards it now, though. In the obviously, like you say, it's happened. It's not something you want to dwell on. You haven't,
can't change it
because you've gone on to achieve so much, which people will be like, "Oh, it's because of that." But you obviously, do you feel like that is the case, or a mixture?
A mixture. Certainly.
You seem quite a determined and quite passionate a weird time. Person generally, as well. So
it was an odd time. I mean, the for me, one of the saddest parts about it is this is how little. There's been very few advancements in our understanding has
grown.
We're more knowledgeable of
people are far more empathetic and understand that it's...
I mean, there's a lot more mental health support surrounding it, which is great. I think people are a lot more open to discussing it, which is fantastic. I think our understanding of primary bone cancers has increased, which is great. but our method of, treating it hasn't progressed in
So the actual
decades.
technological advancements to help
Fighting the cancer
not necessarily
hasn't improved.
cure cancer, but to fight it.
Yeah. So the same to my knowledge.
I'm assuming you went into remission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank God.
So the same.
How was that as a feeling to go into remission? Was it just for you? Did you?
Yeah.
Was it a big for your parents? I can imagine that.
I think more of my parents.
Could you see them
I don't
being
know.
emotional and?
I think, but again, you
don't remember it so much.
but you're also 14 at the time.
Were you in and out of hospital a lot then, or?
Yeah, fair amount. So a couple of things. So the to my knowledge, the how they treat you, the protocol hasn't changed in 15 years,
which is a shame.
And I'm sure it dates back longer
than
that. That's just my experience of 15 years. So the chemotherapy and the drugs I was on, back in 2007, whenever it was, are still the same today.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm sure back in 2007
wouldn't have been much different
than back in
20 years before that as well.
So that's the shame. So understanding of diagnosis, I think, has improved. Our understanding of the illness, of cancer has improved.
But they're not putting enough emphasis on.
But how to treat it, how to fight it, I don't think.
That's
but I might be wrong.
But
I don't know.
Or do you
no,
think
God, no, not at all. It's just
one of those things they haven't cracked the code on yet.
It's just a difficult thing to.
Is it because the way it mutates and just?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I think they're still trying to find a way of. I mean, this is probably true of all cancers, right? It's how do you deliver a means of treatment that just targets the cancer cells and not everything else in your body?
Yeah.
Right. Which is what essentially chemotherapy does.
When you went through chemotherapy, I'm assuming you did. Yeah. Like, what kind of impacts did that have on you? Because obviously...
it sucks. Chemo sucks.
Well, that's why I hear. Because a lot of people... Obviously, it's brilliant. Because without it, you don't know what circumstances you would be in right now.
But it's flawed. Yeah. It's very flawed. Again, to my very limited knowledge of this, despite...
Do you think that impacted your memory as well? Obviously, undergoing chemotherapy is obviously going to take a mental tax.
God knows,
on your body,
I'm sure.
your mind.
But to my understanding of how it works... And I might be completely wrong on this, so I'm happy to be corrected. But my understanding of it is that basically chemotherapy just kills every cell in your body. It's just that cancer cells are more susceptible to that than normal healthy cells. So that's why you lose your hair.
Because it's killing everything to reach this one thing.
It kills everything. It just like carpet bombs everything.
So you basically...
It's just that cancer cells are more vulnerable to it than healthy, normal...
It's a process of switching you off essentially until the point that it hits the cancer cell, and then all of a sudden it's right, they're better, we can stop this now.
It's essentially just a poison that... But they haven't found a way yet to just target cancer cells.
Just the cancer cells, right.
So the only way you can treat it is that chemotherapy just kills everything. It's just that cancer cells are more... It damages those more than it does normal. So that's why you lose your hair, because your hair follicles get attacked. Because it's just... That's my understanding of a very rudimental way of how it works.
So do you think...
So I think, so that's... It's just a difficult thing
Do you think then, going into these schools, that obviously you can have children from all sorts of backgrounds and struggling with all sorts of illnesses?
So when I was diagnosed, there wasn't... Again, it's 15 years ago. Whatever.
People wouldn't have talked about it so much then.
Wasn't talked about it, but there wasn't any... any examples or role models the doctors and nurses could give,
of course,
of someone who has, been through the same thing you've been through or about to go through, and this is what they're doing now.
So not only will you be able to be a sporting kind of influence role model, but
you'll
also be able to help people.
So I like the fact that I can be an example that the oncologist and whoever can give of, hey, there was this guy who's had the same cancer you're having and has now gone on to do this, right? So ties back into this, right? Unfortunately, cancer is becoming more. I remember when I was at school, it was 1 in 4 of us will get cancer. Now it's 1 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So not only can I go in as a an individual with a disability to those schools, can also go in as a kind of disability and cancer kind of, I hate role model, I hate that word, but kind of that, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully can bring that to the table, more so than just someone who's been to a games.
Yeah, of course.
That's cool.
You're more
That's
than
really
just that
cool.
one discipline. You
I love the
kind
fact.
of extra.
I love the fact I've been to a games, let alone 2 games. Very lucky to have done that. But if you can do that as well as be,
have an influence over somebody's life, and
I can rock up to these schools and chat to the if these schools have any individuals that have a disability or
and that'll
have the cancer or whatever. Like, you can go there, chat to those people, and show you can chat to the kids that want to talk to you about getting in sport or going to the games, and that in itself is wonderful, right?
Yeah.
More kids we can get in a sport, especially the last year or so when everyone's been cooped up inside,
to know that
the
something
better.
that you do now could have an impact on someone in 10, 15
Yeah.
years, and you might remember that person. You might be
Because I remember being at school and being like the only disabled kid in the school,
Yeah.
right? Like that's like
in
be lonely.
itself
Be
is
lonely at times,
tough.
man. There's
Like,
no one to talk to.
isolating.
But if you can go there and not only try and get kids to hit the playing fields, right? Get in a sport, even if they have no ambition of ever going to a games, they don't have to. Not everyone does. But get in a sport because it's fun, right? It's just a fun thing to do. But if I can go and also, have those conversations with any kids that are having cancer, or they know someone that's really blah 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 blah, like, probably can offer that side of it as well.
I think that's a great way to tie everything up. But yeah, I appreciate you being so open and actually willing to talk about it as well, because obviously at the end of the day, I feel like people think it's a taboo to talk about kind of mental health, illnesses, disabilities.
I think that's I think the last I don't know, the last couple of years, I think there's definitely been a positive shift
for sure. And not only that, but you don't want it to be where your disability is all that people talk about as well, right?
No, either. No,
because obviously your achievements are completely separate from your disabilities. It's because you have worked hard and you have got talent and you have got good communication skills.
Well, that's the thing, is mate.
Skills.
You want to talk to me about cancer experience? Can do that as someone with a disability? Absolutely. Just want to talk about what Tokyo and Rio was like at the games?
Exactly.
Yeah, man, we can do it. You want to talk about all 3 of those? Sure.
And if you want to talk about video games,
mate,
I'm here
I
for
will
it.
talk all day about
we
those.
We can switch up the podcast. We can do another 2 hours.
I'll do this in a
just talk about
heartbeat. Let's go. Yes, so hopefully, I can go and talk to the kids about the game, show them medals, and if the schools have any kids that feel could benefit.
Yeah.
From talking to me from a disability, cancer, whatever point of view, then great. It's I enjoy doing it. I enjoy kind of sharing my experience. If it'll help, great. Want to go there and show off some medals? Man, who doesn't want to?
Well, you're going to show us your
medals
in a second.
Yeah.
We haven't seen
bust them out.
I haven't actually held on to a gold Paralympic medal yet, so that's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty special. But yeah, so obviously been joined by Laurence Whiteley. He's had some crazy experiences throughout his life, his career, obviously, and just day to day. So we've been able to open up about the sports psychological aspect of kind of his journey, alongside Lauren as well. His switch from swimming to rowing, and all the accomplishments he's had since. So thank you so much. Very much appreciate your time, and
thank you.
Sorry for taking up your time.
Not do it again in a heartbeat.
Brilliant. Let's go again. Thank you so much.
To the gaming podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Change gears. Oh no.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really nice of you.